Can't have my joy. Can't have my peace. I can't even play this loud because Facebook Live won't allow my video to be shown if I'm playing some music. Hey everybody, good afternoon. Taking a quick lunch break, and I just want to talk real briefly about recovering and focusing after you experience some kind of loss or disruption or major distraction while you're in the middle of your goals and trying to achieve certain things and trying to get things done. And just talking about allowing yourself the grace, giving yourself enough grace to feel those emotions and things that you're going through in order to refocus, in order to, along with all of what you've been through, what you're going through, learning to get back on track, but knowing that it's okay to take some time and not trying to keep up with everybody else or what you see everybody else doing, especially if if you have certain groups or certain people you kind of network with and you kind of going after the same goal and focus, but then you can't look too much about how far they're going or goals that they're reaching. We all have our own journey, and I think that is so important to remember. And so I recently lost my dad, and the grieving I'd never experienced losing a parent before, or a child or anything else. But the grieving process is real. I've counseled people who've experienced loss as a mental health professional, depression, grief, anxiety, and all of that stuff. And what I tell them or taught them, I take it for myself. I practicing what I preached about giving yourself time and grace, allowing yourself to feel the emotions, knowing that they're real, because I think you do yourself an injustice and do more harm when you do not acknowledge that you're going through grief or you're going through some kind of emotional disruption or whatever you want to call it, and it may not be loss, it may be something that distracted you and kind of threw you off track, and so you're trying to find a way to get back on track. But give yourself time. God gives us grace to get it together when we mess up, when we go off track, when we deter. So that same love that the Father shows us, we have to give to ourselves, and we have to give to others as well. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that today, and then going through the whole grief process and everything. And I want to talk about the power of being in supportive circles and groups and partnerships where you have support. This could be friends and family, doesn't have to be business, friends, family, colleagues, or whatever. And also the accountability of people to not only support you, but those who continue to speak life and to keep you accountable to the things you're called to do, to that vision, to those dreams, but giving you time to refocus, to recover. You need that. And the reason why I think this is important, because we live in a rush world where we're doing things so quickly, and we kind of get caught up in that. And I found myself, I'm already kind of hyper in some areas, and I find that if I don't slow myself down and breathe and take a moment, I'll feel more hyper, and I don't like that feeling. It's just uncomfortable for me. So this is to encourage somebody who may be experiencing that, or who may experience that in the future. We don't know what tomorrow holds. We just don't know what tomorrow holds. But just be encouraged. Surround yourself around good, positive people who genuinely care for you, and who are supportive and understanding, and who allow you to vent. And knowing that venting does not mean, and this is one of the things that really is dear to my heart, even when I'm in ministry or doing ministry or pastoral counseling, is that allowing people to vent, allowing them to say how they feel without being judgmental, understanding that just because they're saying something that may be discouraging at the moment doesn't mean that they left God, they left the church, they backslidden. They're just telling you how they feel. And we need to have that safe place when we can tell or speak about how we feel in that moment. That's part of a healing process. That's part of working things out, getting clarification, processing something that happened. That's part of the human nature. And a lot of times some of us came from backgrounds that we weren't allowed to do that. So therefore we have issues with learning how to cope and how to persevere in certain situations because we were not taught or allowed to do that, to grieve. You know, even the Bible gives people time to grieve and focus. Matter of fact, they would wear the ash on their head. You will know that this person is dealing with loss or this person is dealing with grief. So they have their time. So if God gives us that time, then we should do that with each other and especially with ourselves. So I just think that's very important. And then so now, even though I'm still going through that process, for me, I believe and I always speak about how visions gives us life, and without a vision, people do perish because you have nothing to work towards. There's no hope. You're just kind of floating around. For me, it's the engine that drives me. It's my motivation that I have to keep living because there are people that need to be blessed. There is something that God, and take this for yourself. There is something that God has deposited and poured into me, downloaded into me, that I need to pour out on others. There's something, there's a word, there's a message, there's a mission, there's a call, there's a mandate. And so I have to do what it is that God has given me to do. And I'm reminded of Paul. My little preaching coming out. I'm reminded of Paul because when he talked about being compelled to preach the gospel, for him it wasn't a job. He wasn't a hireling. He said, I am compelled to preach no matter what, whether I'm paid or not. I am compelled to preach the gospel. I have to do this. It's my life call. It's my life journey. So it doesn't matter. And he had a job anyway. He did carpentry work or whatever have you for a certain time. So, but he understood that it was a mandate from God. No matter what comes, hell or high water, this is something that I am called to do. I dream it, sleep it, eat it, whatever. And I love that about him because it reminds us of the essentials of and the foundation of what it is that God wants us to do. Whatever the purpose is, because I believe in living a purposeful life, not only applying that to business, but to ministry, to relationships, to family, to friends, whoever, people you serve. Living a purposeful, meaning life, it gives us meaning to our lives. So if you don't even know I believe people do kind of know what their purpose is, but they're not sure. Or sometimes you go through life and it kind of makes you feel like you don't know anymore. You kind of lost it because maybe you haven't operated